Hey guys, Ryan here from Indy Wrestling School, and today we're talking about where do you find a building, how do you get sponsors to do a pro wrestling show. Coming up. Hey guys, thanks for checking us out. We put out new videos every single Thursday, so if you're new here, please consider subscribing below. One question that seems to come up quite often is, how do I find a building to host a pro wrestling show? And the other one is where do I find sponsors? And I think give a pretty succinct answer to this. If you live in a part of the country that's inundated with wrestling, I live in New Jersey, so unfortunately there's a lot of pro wrestling in New Jersey. I shouldn't say unfortunately, but fortunately there's wrestling. Unfortunately, there's some not so savory characters in pro wrestling. What happens a lot of times, specifically in New Jersey, there's a particular company that runs all through the state, and they just kind of go in and they're all about themselves, and they don't worry about the building, they don't worry about the venue, they don't worry about anybody but themselves. And what that does is it's called burning out the building. So these buildings will have a bad experience with pro wrestling, and they won't want anybody involved. And that's where it's a little unfortunate for the good people. Hopefully some of you people watching out there, it can get frustrating because you talk to these buildings and they throw their hands up. I don't want anything to do with it. And then there's also some people who think that when they hear wrestling, they think broken chairs, broken tables, broken light tubes, and it's just going to be a mess and we're going to destroy their building. The one thing I always try to do is speak to the venue directly. My show specifically, we don't use any weapons. It's a kid-friendly show, but believe me, I've run into plenty of obstacles and plenty of hurdles where people just don't want anything to do with wrestling. And unfortunately, that's because of the experiences they've had in the past or their misconceptions of what pro wrestling is. A lot of times the question is going to be insurance. Do you have insurance? Do you need insurance? Certain states require it. I know Pennsylvania and I believe Delaware requires insurance for every single wrestling show. I mean, it's just good practice to have. It can be expensive depending on where you're living, so that's going to be a cost that you're going to have to determine whether or not that'll fit into your budget. And if it doesn't, you might want to wait till you have a bigger budget or you can afford that. Do I hang a banner? But then you got to factor in how much it's going to cost to make a banner. Do I do a plug for their show? Are we handing out pamphlets? Are they setting up a table? What is the benefit for them to sponsor your show? Because obviously it's great for you. If you get money, you can bring in more talent, you can do more things. But what do they get out of this deal? And that's the thing, you need to put yourself in their shoes. Same thing with finding a building and getting a sponsor. You have to put yourself in the other person's shoes and explain to them why having a pro wrestling show would be beneficial to their venue or their company. Now, as far as sponsors, unfortunately, there's really no easy way to find sponsors and get it out there, because I know this is a question that's been coming up quite often. If you like this video, please beat the shit out of the like button below, and I'll see you guys next Thursday.